Hi, can everybody hear me? Yes. Okay. Calling to order Monday, November 8th, 2021, work session public meeting. Read the announcements. The New Jersey Open Public Meeting Law was enacted to ensure the rights of the public to have advance notice of, to attend meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provision of this act, the Business Administrator Board Secretary has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted in accordance with NJSA 10:4-8B and guidance from the New Jersey Department of Community Affairs, Division of Local Government Services. In addition, please be aware that the employees of the school district retain the right of privacy and shall retain all rights regarding defamation and slander. According to the laws of New Jersey, the board shall not be held liable for comments made by the members of the public, and in order to protect the privacy rights of employees in the district, the board shall not respond to statements made by the public of or about district employees. Angela?
Ms. Calari?
Here.
Mr. Carolyn?
Here.
Ms. Farrow?
Here.
Mr. Fortunato?
Here.
Ms. King?
Here.
Mr. Kinney?
Here.
Ms. Koulikortis? Here. Mr. Seta-Ducato?
Here.
Ms. Sullivan?
Here.
Ms. LaForgia?
Here. All right, if everybody can stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's go straight to business report and student board reps. Renee, Lizzie, you guys keeping track for me?
Yes, I
Who's
think I
that?
go first today.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so starting with the Indian Hills board reports, I have some opening festival things for Interact. So they have the Ridgecrest Harvest Festival happening. So both Indian Hills and Rampo Interact clubs collaborated on a harvest festival celebrated at the Ridgecrest Senior Housing Facility. Residents were treated to a variety of arts and craft activities and were assisted by Interact student volunteers. Then the food bag and toiletry collections. So Interact is continuing its food bag and toiletry collections into November. Students interested in participating can sign up on the clipboards in room 704. There's an annual Thanksgiving dinner collection. So Interact and Student Council is hosting the annual Thanksgiving meal collection contest. The homeroom that collects the most complete meals will win a bagel breakfast to be served in the courtyard off of the cafeteria. Details have been shared with all homeroom teachers and posted on Schoology, and the donations will be collected by the local DPW on behalf of Moms Club of Oakland. So for November, Interact has many upcoming events, including Veterans Bucket Day, collection, and bake sales for the Mission of Honor. Our veterans team is working on a video to honor our Flow friends and family who served or are currently serving in the military. Interact also made cards for the veterans at the Veterans Home in Paramus. Then we have holiday planning. Interact is working closely with Indian Hills Holiday Festival team to bring jingle boxes to our friends at the Patterson Boys and Girls Club. We are also working on holiday caroling events for both Oakland Care Center and Ridgecrest Senior Housing. Students will also be making ornaments and cards for distribution. So then I have some sports news. In football, the boys football celebrated their final football game last Thursday with a fantastic 17-16 win against Cliffside Park. In cross country, Allison Lounsbury has been named the Bergen County cross country champion, being the first girl in school history to win the meet. The entire girls cross country team finished second and will be advancing to states. The Indian Hills Student Council hosted its 2021 Powder Puff last Monday. The spirit was high as all 8 teams competed for the title of Powder Puff champion. Congratulations to the Team Fireballs. For clubs, Ski Club is up and running for all those interested in hitting the slopes. There are 4 trips to Mountain Creek throughout the winter after school. More details can be found on the Ski and Board Club Schoology page or by emailing Ms. Sherman, the club advisor. The last day to purchase your discounted season pass or lift tickets is November 24th. Indian Hills is also looking for yearbook editors for 2021. The interest meeting is Thursday, November 11th after school at 2:45 in room 816. Please email Mr. Ross or Mr. Mayer with any questions. The guidance department is hosting Camp Gras as a hiring table on Thursday. So this is November 11th during all lunch periods. Anyone 9th through 12th grade is invited to attend and apply to work at Camp Gras. November 3rd was also National Stress Awareness Day. Remember, the first step to eliminating stress is identifying it. Then for student government, seniors will be taking their senior photo tomorrow after second period on Hank Baggio Field. The Rampo Student Council and Indian Hill Student Council met over lunch to discuss our school happenings and discuss some future events. Stay tuned for more school collaboration projects. And lastly, the Drama Club. So Indian Hills Theater Company is presenting Just Another High School Play. The dates for this show are November 18th, 19th, 20th, all at 7 p.m. Tickets will be on sale during all lunch periods for $5 only. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Ooh, can you hear me? I guess that works. Hi, everybody. I'm going to start with sports first. So football is 9-1, and their next game is in the semifinals for state, which is going to be on Friday against Ridge. Boys soccer is 17-0-2, and last week they won the Bergen County Championship. They also have a semifinals games for states against PV tonight. Girls soccer, the girls season just ended last week, and they finished with a record of 16-3. For cheerleading, they're getting ready for their first competition, which is on November 20th. For cross country, this last weekend was their state sectional championship, and Brianna Braver won the North 1 Group 3 state sectional race, making her the first athlete for cross country in school history to repeat as a state sectional champion. And because of this, she was actually named the Records Female Athlete of the Week. The girls team overall placed 5th at the meet, calling them for the state Group 3 meet. And Alex Horgan also took 2nd for the boys North 1 Group 3 state sectional race, qualifying him next week as well. And for band, they're going on a field trip to perform at Lincoln School, Eisenhower, and FAMS tomorrow. For clubs, Film Club is watching Jungle Cruise this week. Games Club is having a Clash Royale tournament on Friday, so if you're an Epic gamer, you should definitely come out. Rampage Business and Stock Market Club are meeting. DECA paperwork is due. Ski Club is starting, so if you want to catch the slopes, you should see Dr. K. Boys and Girls Ski Team is also looking for racers. For Gold Mask's fall play, they're doing Bob Rauschenberg America, which is a road trip through the American landscape, highlighting one of America's greatest living artists. You can check it out this Thursday, Friday, or Saturday. Senior quotes are also due on Schoology by November 24th. Cultural Diversity Awareness celebrated Diwali last week, and the main entrance was decorated. Guidance hosted Wellness Wednesday last week, and during our lunch periods, students were able to make sand art, which was really fun. My sand art came out really great, by the way. It's a masterpiece. And Guidance has partnered with local businesses to help students get jobs. All of that information is on Schoology. For student government, for the cafeteria, we finally got our sandwich line back, and we're really excited to have that back. Halloween was a great success in school. World Language won the teacher contest with their birthday party, slumber party, which was really great. We're also hosting our bonfire this Friday, and we're really excited to do that. We are planning a school spirit contest with this winter season with Indian Hills. We are also partnering with Guidance to do Families for Family fundraiser called Warming the Homeless. And student government last week met with Mr. Rishika and other administrators with the Indian Hills Council. We had a great discussion about a lot of things that are happening in our schools. And lastly, student government wants to thank Mr. Rishika for his time here in our school district. We really appreciate that he was willing to spend the time with the students, and we wish him well.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And of course, you know the saying, if you want to stay, you're more than welcome, but if you need to leave, thank you for your reports. As far as board president's report, mine is really short. It's just tonight's Dr. Denisio's last night. And so,
Dr. Rashika.
oh, I'm sorry.
Denicio's last night.
Why is everybody's name so
I hope
close?
it's not his last night.
I know, everybody's name is so
We're
close.
staying till-
Dr. Rashika's last night tonight, and we want to say goodbye to him. And Dr. Denisio's first day is tomorrow, so I am very short and sweet tonight. So we'll just move on to Dr. Ashika.
Thank you, Ms. LaForgia. First, I want to tell the young ladies that I thank you for, first of all, I'm really happy to hear about the collaboration between the two schools. I think that's a very positive thing here in the district where both schools are working together. I'm happy to hear that the clubs are up and running, obviously. So it's all good things are happening. And that's what Ramapo Indian Hills is about. You know, one of the main focuses when I first came in was to try to get more collaboration between both schools. Of course, we were sidetracked by other things, but I'm glad to see that it's coming together, and that makes me feel good. But being November, and since it's my last night, and we're celebrate Thanksgiving, I'm thankful. I am thankful to be here for almost a year now. 4 weeks from now will be a full year. And I realize, you know, there were many difficult situations we had to go through with the pandemic and, you know, looking at scheduling. But overall, I look back, and I think we did a lot of positive things. We moved ahead with getting students back in school, I guess in January or February last year. We went down to one cohort, and then in the spring, things got better there too, when everybody came back in May. And certainly in September, you know, everybody's back here and we're back to normal. And I'm really happy to see that the quarantines have really not been anything major for us. I know before I got here last year, and even when I was here in the spring, you know, a big challenge back then was looking at the amount of sports, the athletic programs, and how they were affected by you know, quarantines and who was sick and so on and so forth. So my hope for the district is that we get beyond this. We keep moving in a positive direction. Again, more communication, collaboration between both schools, and the alignment of both schools working on the same things. I think that's important. But I thank you as parents. I know there's some things that we agree on and some things that we disagree. That's healthy. It's okay. So I thank you for your support as we move forward and the discussions that we've had. And more importantly, I want to thank the entire board for their support during a very, very difficult time. Has made my life easier in the sense that I knew I wasn't alone, and my decisions were shared with other people, and there was discussion. So thank you to everybody. It's been a pleasure for me. And I will be around and wish everyone the best. So thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Dr. Ashika. Mr. Lamb, Business Administrator report.
Thank you, Ms. LaForgia. First, just want to thank Dr. Rashika. It's been a pleasure working with you. I learned a lot from you, and I wish you health and happiness during your time away from us, and you're always welcome to come back and visit. But it really has been a pleasure. So thank you for everything. And 3 things to report tonight. 2 of them were planned, and one was kind of a surprise within the past weeks, but I'll just give an update on those. The ESIP, Energy Savings Improvement Program, that we've been working on the past few months. We're reaching another milestone on Thursday. We are opening the proposals. We're expecting proposals from 3 reputable companies. And again, ESIP allows us to implement building projects that will produce energy savings, and then the energy savings would be used to pay off the bonds to pay for the building upgrade. So it's a way of upgrading your building infrastructure, becoming a cleaner, greener school district without raising taxes. So it's kind of a win-win from all aspects. But it is a several-year process. So we're still at the beginning stages, but it is a big milestone that the RFP opening will be Thursday. And then we are planning to do an auction for electrical utility rates, hopefully in early December. That is something our district does once every, typically 2 or 3 years, depending. Contract could be as short as a year, as long as several years. By going out to auction for the bid, we are able to get rates better than consumer rates. So it, again, it does help the district's fiscal management and our budget. And the third item to report on has been, was really a surprise in the past week. Like the entire labor market, bus companies are having a shortage of drivers. They can't find enough of drivers. And this impacted our non-public busing routes. Particularly, there's an afternoon route that transports approximately 56 students from Bergen Catholic High School to the Flow District after school on during the afternoons. And the bus company Scholastic resigned, and Scholastic was not able to find a replacement driver yet. So we outsource our transportation bidding and management to Region 1 of Northwest Bergen County, which is basically a consortium of 12 public school districts. It's housed at the Mahwah Board of Education. So Region 1 and Scholastic are working very hard to resolve this problem. I had a Zoom call today with the parents of the students, the transportation director of Bergen Catholic as well. So we are doing our best to address the situation. They're seeking quotes almost every day, and the bus companies are aware that we have a route to fill. A week from today, Region 1 is rebidding the route, which basically means bus companies can resubmit a new price for the route. And basically that means we're willing and able to pay more money for the route, but again, it comes back to, are they able to find a driver for the route? So we'll update you on the status as it develops, but we are doing our best to solve the problem. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lamb. All right, moving right along, let's go into public discussion on agenda and non-agenda items. Please limit your time to 3 minutes and be conscientious of your time. Let's be civil. Board members, please refrain from commenting during public session and follow Robert's rules. Further, the board will not be answering questions directly. We will be taking notes, and we will have, if we have an answer, they will be offered to you at the end of the public session, or one of us will get back to you as soon as possible. Please state your name and town. Members of the community only speak to the president. Can I have a motion to open public discussion?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. We are at 8:18. Okay. Any comments from the public? Did you do roll call? Angela, would you do roll call?
Mr. Carolyn.
Yes.
Mr. Fortunato.
Oh, I couldn't hear you. Yes.
Mr. Kinney.
Yes.
Ms. King.
Yes.
Ms. Koulikortis.
Yes.
Mr. Sededicato.
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan.
Yes.
Ms. LaForgia.
Yes. Sorry. Okay, we're at 8:19 now. Sorry.
Margaret Bennett, Franklin Lakes. Just so you know, the sound is very bad. We can't hear you very well, and they're reporting at home that they also can't hear you. I have a question and then a statement. My question is about the athletic director position. Is this a permanent placement? How many people applied? Did Dr. Dionisio, was he involved in the process? And then, just in closing, Tony, you're a very, very kind person. You've been lovely. You've worked really hard through difficult times and a lot of drama, and you have somehow managed to make everyone feel that they matter. And I know that the feedback I hear, not just from parents, has been generally positive, that you're just nice. And that's sometimes a rarity.
I appreciate
And
that.
so I wish you a lot of luck. I know you're local,
Yep.
and that you're a grandparent of school kids, and we are probably going to see you around.
Yep,
Good luck.
I'll be here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Bennett. Anyone else?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Wait, 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 wait.
Meredith Cardenas, Franklin Lakes. I'd like to begin by reading a quote by Mr. Fortunato during September's 27th meeting. Quote, "If you don't already know my position on a lot of these things, it should be clear now to members on the left of the audience here, okay, that I do not agree with Mr. Budo, I do not agree with Ms. LaForgia on most topics, and I do not agree with Ms. Sullivan on most topics, okay? They represent an extreme right wing, as do some members of this audience." Unquote. And then once again, I'll read the definition of extreme right wing. The extreme right includes both vigilante groups and political parties that are often openly racist, have clear ties to fascism, and also employ violence and aggressive tactics. These groups may operate either outside or within the realm of electoral politics, or both. They tend to oppose procedural democracy. So if that weren't questionable enough, after hearing members of the public question Mr. Fortunato's comment, Mrs. King took to Facebook, and she posted, quote, "The public he is referring to are the same people who are asking that books be removed, banned, from the school reading list. One of these books being The Catcher in the Rye. What's next? Will they stand at the Ramapo and Indian Hills courtyards burning these books?" Unquote. I will mention that she said that it was on her own behalf and did not represent the board. So, not only did she not condemn Mr. Fortunato and what he said, she stirred the pot even further. She decided to liken us to those who have burned books. And what's the most famous book burning? What do most people think of when they hear that term? I'm glad you asked. Nazis. In the 1930s, the Nazis carried out public burning of books they claimed were un-German. These books burnings stood as a powerful symbol of Nazi intolerance and censorship. So, Mrs. King, I am not saying that you're calling us Nazis, but what I am asking is what you're insinuating. If the board members were discerning, they would recognize that parents here and their concerns are really quite simple. They want to make sure their kids aren't being categorized by race, and they don't want their kids being exposed to sexual content that should be reserved for the home. This board should not be contributing to the divisive atmosphere by calling names and hurling at insults. If you are concerned, genuinely concerned with the well-being of students, you shouldn't delegitimize legitimate concern. You should welcome dissent and debate and not try to intimidate us.
Thank you.
Carrie Serenides, Oakland. You guys can hear me?
Couldn't hear you.
Sorry, what was it?
You gotta speak up.
Speak up more. Is that better? Carrie Serenides, Oakland. So I came across this. It was posted by one of the Board of Ed members, and I'd just like to read it. Not sure where this parent should control what is taught in schools because they are our kids is originating. But parents do have the option to choose to send their kids to a hand-selected private school at their own expense if this is what they desire. The purpose of a public education in a public school is not to teach kids only what parents want them to be taught. It is to teach them what society needs them to know. The client of the public school is not the parent, but the entire community, the public. The public is made up of parents, and parents are and should always be in control of their children's education.
Melissa Keel, Oakland, echoing what Carrie said. This quote was taken from Vivian King's profile. Not sure where parents should control what is taught in schools because they are our kids is originating, but parents do have the option to send their kids to a hand-selected private school at their own expense if this is what they desire. The purpose of a public education in a public school is not to teach kids only what parents want them to be taught. It is to teach them what society needs them to know. The client of the public school is not the parent, but the entire community. Not every parent has the ability to send their children to private school at their own expense.
Ang from Wyckoff. I want to read a recent post made by one of the board members. It reads, "Not sure where this parent should control what is taught in schools because they are our kids is originating, but parents do have the option to choose to send their kids to a hand-selected private school at their own expense if that is what they desire. The purpose of public education in a public school is not to teach kids only what parents want them to be taught. It is to teach them what society needs them to know. The client of the public school is not the parent, but the entire community, the public." Let that sink in. Not sure whether she was representing herself or the board, but this is a demeaning post, offering a disturbing insight into her attitude towards the people she serves and the people who elected to represent them on the school board. I have 3 questions. Do you believe in parental rights in our own child's education? In believing that parents know what's best for our children? As far as options, hardworking parents do not always have the option to send their kids to private school. They don't want to pay the double taxes and send their child to private school while paying community school taxes. The take it or leave it comment shows insensitivity and an arrogance to many hard-working parents in these towns. Second question, the client of the public school is not the parent, but the entire community, the public. Who is the public? Is it the parent? Is the parent not the public? Then who is it? Is it the teachers? Is it the teacher unions? Is it the non-parents? Or is it only the people who agree with you? So who is it, I ask? Third question, this last statement, the purpose of public education in public school is not to teach only what parents want them to be taught, it is to teach them what society needs them to know. I beg to differ. Public school should be teaching the fundamental academics, reading, writing, and math. It is the parents who have the authority and the guardianship to teach their children their morals, their values, and their beliefs. Please define society and who determines what our children need to know. Our children are not property of the state. They belong to parents, not the state or society. We don't co-parent with the state.
Hi, Audrey Souders, Oakland. First, I just want to wish Mr. Rashika luck and enjoy your retirement. Maybe stay home for a while. The first thing I wanted to ask about was also on P9 about the vice principal moving into the athletic director. I just wanted the board to address that process. Did you interview anyone else from the outside? And the obvious question is, who's going to be the new vice principal? It looks like this is only a temporary position. It says from January to June. Are you going to reappoint the same person? It just seems a little suspicious because the new superintendent starts tomorrow. Now we have a vice principal opening. The other thing that I would like to ask about is the ESSER funds. I guess I'm going to have to put an open request to find out exactly where all the money is going, but I know there's been a lot of articles about insufficient oversight and the massive funds and abuse of these relief funds. I'd like to know how much money is being spent on COVID testing for the teachers. OSHA is imposing vaccine and testing requirements on private businesses and places the burden of testing cost on every individual. So I'd like to know how much money is being taken from the ESSER funds to test the teachers on a weekly basis. The third thing I wanted to comment on is echoing some of the other parents' sentiments on this paragraph. Not sure where this parents should control what is taught in schools because they are our kids is originating, but parents do have the option to choose to send their kids to hand-selected private schools at their own expense if this is what they desire. The purpose of a public education in a public school is not to teach children only what parents want them to be taught. It is to teach them what society needs them to know. The client of the public school is not the parent, but the entire community, the public. I find that very disturbing that this reflects the mindset of some Board of Education members. I'd like you guys maybe to look to Virginia and see where this mindset got some elected officials on Tuesday this past week. I think Terry McAuliffe would like to restate some of his sentiments on this topic. Parents should never simply trust unchecked educators, administrators, board members, or so-called experts to make decisions about what is taught to their children or how schools are run. The statement by Mrs. King reflects a highly inflated view of the competency and authority of the aforementioned individuals. Thank you.
Jody Gaffredo, Oakland. I'd like to just read a comment made on Ms. King's Facebook page. Not sure where this parents should control what is taught in schools because they are our kids is originating, but parents do have the option to choose to send their kids to a hand-selected private school at their own expense if this is what they desire. The purpose of a public education in a public school is not to teach kids only what parents want them to be taught. It is to teach them what society needs them to know. The client of the public school is not the parent, but the entire community. I don't know about you, but I pay enough in taxes. I have to send my kids to public school. This is a privilege statement. And it's really concerning. Thank you.
Kathy LaGinestra, Oakland. I'm going to echo what everybody else was saying. Not sure whether this parents should control what is taught in schools because they are our kids, is originating. But parents do have the option to choose this, to send their kids to a hand-selected private school at their own expense. I don't have that option. I pay Oakland taxes, which are high enough, and they include schooling. So I shouldn't have to. And I do not relinquish my parental rights by doing so. The purpose of a public education in a public school is not to teach kids only what parents want them to be taught. It is to teach them what society needs them to know. Society doesn't always teach the right thing. There are plenty of people out there that bias and teaching the wrong thing. I intend on teaching my kids the right thing, and I think I'm doing a good job right now. They're good kids, and it's being taught by me. And I don't appreciate the flippant view that everybody has the option of spending tens of thousands of dollars in addition to what they're paying Oakland taxes. Thank you.
Amy Eilert, Oakland. Ms. King, you've apparently been the subject of a coordinated attack tonight. I don't find that funny. I find it ironic because there's been many offensive posts made by other board members as well that nobody seems to have a problem with. Moving on. First, I have some questions regarding the votes from last meeting. Ms. Sullivan, you voted against P9, the Women's Empowerment Group, and then you changed to an abstain. Just wanted to know why. P14, which are the ice hockey coaches and the substitute coaches, you voted against them. We'd like to know why. Ms. LaForgia, you voted against P9, also the Women's Empowerment Club, and also P14, M and N, which are the ice hockey coach and the substitute. You did abstain from the co-assistant. I'd like to know why. Second, paraphrasing from njsba.org, 10 tips for new board members some words of wisdom from a board veteran. Any careless or negative remark you make about the schools now carries a weight it wouldn't have pre-election. And in the matters involving personnel, negotiations, or litigation, you must keep information absolutely confidential, or you can do real harm. Don't publicly blindside fellow board members or administrators with tough questions and controversial issues. Also, don't grandstand with speeches that make it clear that you and you alone are the board member who feels the pain of the audience regarding hot issues du jour. Unless, that is, your goal is to annoy your colleagues, lose their trust, and render yourself ineffective. You can't get anything done as one board member. You need to be a majority to agree with you. Work as a member of a team. In addition to reading the posts of BOE agendas, I often read social media posts made by members of the Board of Education on their official BOE pages. Until recently, Mrs. Sullivan has blocked me from her Board of Education page. I was shocked that she did that because, other than speaking at public commenting during these Board of Education meetings, I have never commented on any of her posts. I have never engaged with Mrs. Sullivan on any online platform, and the BOE members' pages are meant to be informative. Yet these posts have devolved into pointed jabs at fellow board members, posts containing pages of legal litigation involving other board members, and disconcerted explanations attempting to push a personal and political agenda. I hope to see the RIH board members collectively use their official BOE Facebook pages the way they were intended to be used. I think the community overall had enough of the nasty back and forth and the blatant undercutting of fellow board members. It has affected the tone of the meetings and has damaged and divided the school community. We are better than that. It would benefit everyone to get back to what used to be typical board member voice,
Time is up, thank you.
achievements, etc. I hope
Your time is up, thank you.
Thank you.
Kim Anch, Franklin Lakes. I have a few questions regarding a recent announcement on Schoology. On October 20th, the following announcement was posted. The RHS Cultural Diversity Awareness Club is meeting tomorrow. Please join the first CDA meeting of the year in the Media Center classroom beginning at 2:45. We will be discussing the objectives of the club as well as getting your feedback about what you would like to learn this year. We will be discussing the Harvard Implicit Bias Test and taking the test individually. A group discussion will follow based on people's desire to share, reflect, and work to be done to appreciate and respect others. So I have a few questions, and maybe they're for Mr. Fogarty, and he's not here tonight, so maybe he can get back to me or someone else can answer. But I don't really understand. This seems to me to be a survey. And we've already gone through this with the New Jersey student survey law. So if this was going to be discussed at the club meeting, obviously everyone does not have to join the club, it's voluntary. But I'm wondering if any consent forms were sent home to any parents whose children were thinking of joining the club to get their prior written permission for them to take this test. And it's called a bias test, but it's a survey. Regardless, it's my understanding that every child in the district, which is over 2,000 students, has access to Schoology, and I was looking through Schoology, and I see that I can access the link that was posted from the club, and I could get into all the different sections with all the questions of the bias test. So that means that all 2,000 plus students had access to this survey, and it touched upon the same type of things from the English teacher survey in April, and even more so. There were subjects about gender, sexuality, skin tone, disability, Arab, Muslim, Asian, weight, presidents, transgender, weapons, Native, religion. Some of the questions: which statement best describes you? I strongly prefer cisgender people to transgender people.
How warm or cold do you feel towards transgender people? What sex were you assigned at birth on your original birth certificate? What is your current gender identity? How religious do you consider yourself to be? So at this point, I want to know, why was this just, maybe it wasn't a rogue teacher last year, okay? So now it's a district-wide thing with someone in a position of power who is the advisor to the club, and these questions went out to everyone as far as I'm concerned. I'd like an answer as to how this is not illegal.
Hi, good evening. My name is Sophia Krause, Wyckoff. Parents have a question and concerns. I mean, is that all right for me to take this off when I'm speaking? Parents have a question and concerns for Mr. Carolyn related to the recent curriculum changes that were approved. We did note her request of any and all of your email exchanges with Mrs. LaForgia in the month of August and on August 13th, 2021 at 7:00. Ms. LaForgia sent you an email that reads as follows. John, thank you for your reply. Dr. D needs to be at that meeting, and you know that. The Poletz's report has been pending for 2 years, and they will not be available after that date for months thereafter. You are aware of that as well. Therefore, if I'm looking at priority lists, so as not to make this a 5-hour meeting, the curriculum is the only movable agenda item. And given the fact that 50 to 60 people showed up at the last meeting with concerns, it might seem like a thoughtful narrative for Mr. Sutherland and the board to come out and say, we hear you and we want to spend a little more time considering your concerns. But it has been made very clear to me that there will be no changes to the curriculum. So I ask you, regardless of all this transparency and access review, what was the point if there's no consideration for change? As a board member, I feel like I am no better off than the last 2 years when I had a yes or no vote regardless. And my vote will be no, and Mr. Sutherland is aware, and we met the other day. And just so we are clear, we are already in compliance with the 18A grade 5 -44.368. So the new courses, lots of diversity, yet I did not see any consideration of contributions from the writers with disabilities. Temple Braden empathy is so important. The email clearly shows that Ms. Forger asked Mr. Carolyn if he, the chair of the Education Committee, would consider moving the curriculum meeting to August 23rd in order not to have a 5-hour meeting, given the length of the agenda that night. And Mr. Carolyn publicly stated that Ms. LaForgia had no intention of having a curriculum meeting before the start of the school year. He accuses her of employing delay tactics. Ms. LaForgia also said that it would be a thoughtful narrative for Mr. Sutherland and the board to come out and say, we hear you and we want to spend a little more time considering your concerns. The last thing Ms. LaForgia states in her email is, I really want to work together. Yet Ms. Carolyn and other board members tried to humiliate her in public and populate the false narrative that she had no intention of scheduling a curriculum meeting before the new school year, and that you had no choice but to force her hand. This email proves that you lied. It also reveals some startling additional information. The curriculum did indeed meet with the newly imposed DEI mandate, a fact that many on this board tried to hide or outright lie about it. That John Carolyn's committee had no intention of making any changes to the curriculum regardless of the transparency and parental concerns. What was the lie about? Why was there a lie necessary about Ms. LaForgia? Why did the board majority lie about needing to pass the new curriculum before the beginning of the new school year when last year's curriculum already met the standard? Thank you.
Hi, my name's Cheryl Horn from Oakland. I have a question and an issue with the fact that many of us feel like we have lost confidence in this board. A big reason is this paragraph that was put out by Ms. King that people have been reading tonight. Not sure where this parents should control what is taught in schools because they are our kids is originating, but parents do have the option to choose to send their kids to a hand-selected private school at their own expense if this is what they desire. The purpose of a public education in a public school is not to teach kids only what parents want them to be taught. It is to teach them what society needs them to know. The client of the public school is not the parent, but the entire community, the public. The last time I checked, we voted for you guys. Aren't we part of society? How can you sit here, and I've watched you when people have been reading this, and you got your little chuckle going as if it's no big deal. These are our children we are talking about, not your pawns. Doesn't it alarm you that we're so upset about this? Is it just a Facebook post to you? We elected you. You work for us. We are also part of society. Who is this person? Who is this person that decides what society is requesting our children to be taught? We live in Bergen County, in New Jersey. We pay some of the highest taxes. And you have the audacity to tell us we should pull our kids out and pay more? Where do you get the right to say that? Where? I want to know if every single one of you agree with that statement from Ms. King. It's shameful, and it causes a lot of lack of confidence in this board.
We have one more minute. Okay,
Give him the
go
three.
ahead. Go ahead, you have your 3 minutes.
Aridonio Franklin Lakes. I'll wait for the second, I guess, comments with hopes that the kids in the high school may be going to go home. It might not be pleasant what I'm going to say. Thank you.
All right. Can I have a motion to close public session?
So moved. Second.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Carolyn.
Yes.
Mr. Fortunato.
Yes.
Mr. Kinney.
Yes.
Ms. King.
Yes.
Ms. Colacortis.
Yes.
Mr. Sededicato.
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan.
Yes.
Ms. LaForgia.
Yes. All right, let's move on to open board discussion, agenda items.
Question. Want to answer the question?
Oh, yeah, questions, huh? Sorry. Okay. Dr. Ashika, do you want to answer some of the questions regarding the athletic director?
Yeah, sure. Actually, there was a couple of committees put in place. I think all total there were 15 or 16 people involved. I can tell you that Dr. Dionisio was very involved in this selection. A cross-section of teachers, coaches, booster club were all incorporated in the interview process. So the interview process, I think the first round of interviews were with at least 9 people. There were an additional 4 or 5 people the next round. And then the final round was inclusive of Mr. Lamb, Dr. Dionisio, and myself. During the process, Mr. Barata was also part of this, a couple of school administrators, so it was a broad spectrum, including coaches from both girls teams and male teams, and also selective of different seasons. So it was a robust selection, a robust interview process. There were 9 candidates. We had a total, I give you the total, it was 30. 9 were called in for interviews, and it kept breaking down from there from 9 to 6 to 3. And then the last round, again with the administration, including Dr. Dionisio and myself, and Mr. Lamb, was 3. Sorry, 2. 2 finalists that were sent up to us. This is a permanent position. The reason why what's listed there is from now until the end of June is contractually the new contracts start July 1st. So this is a permanent position. We're very happy with the candidate that was selected. The background was outstanding not only from the work that was done within the school district at Ramapo, but past experience in coaching, past experience with New Jersey Athletics Associations, college coaching, and so forth. And also the relationship between currently assistant principal, soon to be athletic director, with students and families. So it was, again, a very robust process. Many people were involved. It was well balanced, and it is a permanent position. So we look at this, and so what would the next step be if it's voted upon tonight, which I hope it is, for this person to be selected for the athletic director? Then the next step would be to post for another assistant principal at Ramapo. So that's pretty much the process. It was extensive. The interview committees had an opportunity to submit questions. The questions that the committee members submitted were reviewed and characterized, looking for leadership, organization, programming, communication, NJSIAA policy, regulations, and so forth. So I feel very confident in the person selected, and I think we're going in the right direction. So it's permanent. We will be looking for a new assistant principal, and that's where we are. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you, Mr. Ashika, or Dr. Ashika. Okay. Mr. Lamb, would you like to comment on the ESIP stuff?
There was a question on the ESSER grant funding.
Sorry.
Yes. ESSER grant funding came in 3 rounds. The first round was before I got here, but I would say that most districts, including ours, put the bulk of that money towards safety, such as masks, extra cleaning for the schools, and even in some cases, technology to make sure that remote learning could be implemented appropriately. ESSER 2 was spent earmarked mostly for what's called learning acceleration, or as some people call learning loss, to make up for that. So we offered summer programs to try to bridge that gap, and some of those after-school programs are continuing during the school year this year. And we're also required to spend part of the ESSER 2 funds on mental health for students' well-being, social emotional learning. And then ESSER 3 funding it can be spent on 3 areas. Again, learning acceleration, mental health, and the other part for facilities upgrades to do with air quality. So one of the things that Mr. Rashika suggested, Dr. Rashika suggested, was getting air purifiers for our cafeterias to increase the airflow, since students are eating in the cafeterias without masks, in close quarters, and without access to as much outdoor seating. Once the weather turns cold, the kids would be even closer together, so the air purifiers will hopefully help with that. Again, along with learning acceleration, mental health, air quality in schools, and if there's money left over at the end, continuing to improve the air quality in the buildings. Thank you.
Mr. Lamb, could you also answer the question as far as the cost of testing?
Oh, yes. Weekly testing is being offered in both of our buildings. We have contracted with a vendor called MediMobile. That's MEDIMOBILE. They were recommended by several other school districts. They come on site to provide rapid testing, and the district is being charged $60 per test. And we've done it about 3 weeks so far. Last Wednesday, we had approximately 14 tests, both buildings combined. And employees are also free to seek testing outside by their own means, which some employees have chosen to do.
Thank you. Mr. Lamb, is that cost coming from the ESSER funding?
Yes, the cost of COVID testing is being funded by the ESSER grant money.
Thank you. Mr. Rashika, would you like to answer Mrs., or have any comments on Mrs. Anch's question?
Sure. I just became aware of that over the weekend. There was a discussion, discussion between myself and Dr. Dionisio. We're looking into this. The way it was described to us is that it was in a test fashion where there's a response to a video that they actually watch or listen to. However, there is a concern, and we will further investigate this piece and go from there. Again, technically, I know you're saying it's a survey based on what you're seeing. Okay, well, oh, I'm sorry. As I said, we had a discussion, Dr. Dionisio, myself, over the weekend on this situation, looking at this test. I haven't had a chance to look at it. My understanding in doing some research, or not doing research, but hearing from other people, is that it's a response to something on the computer, response to words, response to pictures. And that's what I was told. And of course, with anything else, that we will look into it, okay? And I don't know why.
Sorry, Miss Anch, next time around.
That's all I can say at this point, actually.
Okay, thank you. Do I have any other ones? Any other ones? I think that's all I have. John, Mr. Carroll?
So I'd like to address the question about the curriculum. Couple things. The curriculum is something that is written by the school, not the board, just to be very clear about that. And every year on that meeting in August is when the curriculum is reviewed and approved or commented on. And that meeting is so that it is ready to go at the beginning of the school year, so the teachers know what they need to do. The update for the curriculum this year included several things around the academics, as well as some of the laws that we need to comply with. So the curriculum as it stood was not meeting the standards. So I just want to make sure everybody is clear on that. There were things that needed to be updated, and they were. And I will leave any comment to that to the expert, which is the curriculum director. So we wanted to make sure it was done. We had notified the public in April that that meeting would be the meeting that we would do it at. There was an addition of the Palestis report to that meeting, which could have been moved to another time. But again, we really kind of ran out of time, to be quite honest with you, because we do have a deadline to meet. The other thing, too, is that we tried to increase the transparency with the curriculum this year by publishing it, which is something we haven't done in the past because it hasn't been requested. Obviously, clearly, it was not enough time for people. And that is why we are posting all of the curriculum, hopefully by the beginning of the second marking period. It should all be up there so that you can comment on it. And you can still comment on it the same way you were able to comment on it during those 2 weeks. So we realize that that needs to be done, that needs to be available, and realize also too, when we review the curriculum, it's a third is approximately how it's been explained to me. We take a third of the curriculum, and that year it's focused on and updated, and then another third the following year. So you'll be able to comment on all of it. It will be posted, and this is hopefully going to give parents more time to be able to see and review that curriculum. And that's about it. Thank you, Ilmia.
Welcome. Anyone else with comments to the public?
Do I have an opportunity to answer the multiple comments about my Facebook post?
I don't know. Was that a question? Yes. Yeah. I guess.
Yeah, I can answer it. Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess firstly is it was made on my personal page. It was not put on my Board of Ed page. I did have a disclaimer there. It is my opinion. I stand by that opinion. Everyone has a choice. When I was growing up in Wyckoff, my parents sent me to private school as well for a short time. I went to a yeshiva because they wanted me to learn about my religion. And that was their choice, and everyone has a choice. If my post offended anyone, I sincerely apologize. That was not my intent. But at the end of the day, we all have a choice. Public education, or if you choose, there is homeschool, there is private education, parochial education, yeshiva, whatever you choose to send to your child to. Excuse me. So at the end of the day, I stand by it. However, if my post offended anyone, I do apologize.
Thank you. Any other comments from the board members to the public? Okay. All right, let's move on to action items.
There was I think she had a question.
There's no questions now.
No, she was answering questions. She didn't answer her question. Yeah, her question wasn't answered.
What was her question? Anybody have
The votes at the last meeting, how you voted and why?
Who, me? Oh,
Yes.
me personally?
You and Miss Sullivan.
I have no comment on how I voted, and actually, on one of them was a personal thing, so. No comment. Okay. All right, let's go on to action. I actually missed up. Any open board discussion on agenda items? Now's the time. Anybody have any questions on the action items? I will ask Mr. Kinney if he could just read the retirements before we vote on them.
Sure.
Can we do that? I think they're reflected in P11 and
P10 and P11.
and P10, yes.
Can you guys hear me?
A little loud.
I'll try to go loud.
Yes.
So if it gets too loud, everybody just cover their ears. So, see, that's exactly what happens. Whereas Sandra Sedlak has dedicated herself to Round Point Indian Hills Regional High School District for 20 years and 4 months as an administrative assistant, displaying unselfish commitment to our children, exemplifying the standards of professionalism and standard of excellence. And whereas the Round Point Indian Hills High School District Board of Education, together with its citizens, wishes to acknowledge exemplary service that Sandra Sedlak has provided to our children. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Round Point Indian Hills High School School District and Board of Education does hereby extend its appreciation and gratitude to Sandra Sedlak in recognition of her exemplary service to our school district. So thank you very much, Sandra, for that. And our second retirement is whereas Catherine Foschino, who has dedicated herself to the Round Point Indian Hills Regional High School District for 19 years and 2 months as an Indian Hills High School administrative assistant, a district administrative assistant, and a district coordinator staffing, displaying an unselfish commitment to our children, exemplifying the ideals of professionalism and the standard of excellence. And whereas the Round Point Indian Hills Regional High School District Board of Education, together with its citizens, wishes to acknowledge exemplary service that Catherine Foschino has provided for our children. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Round Point Indian Hills Round Point High School District Board of Education does hereby extend its appreciation and gratitude to Catherine Foschino in recognition for her exemplary service to our school district.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Kinney, I appreciate that. Okay, let's move on to action items. May I have a motion and a second for action items? P1 through P11, E1 through E2, OP1, F1, OP, oh gosh, I did it again, P01 through P02. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Angela?
Mr. Carolyn.
Yes.
Mr. Fortunato.
Yes.
Ms. King.
Yes.
Mr. Kinney.
Yes.
Ms. Koulikortis.
Yes.
Mr. Setoducato.
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan.
Yes.
Ms. LaForgia.
Yes, except P9, I must abstain. Okay. right, on to. All right, hold on. All right, let's move on to committee reports. I know there's a standard order here, but does anyone want to go first? Anyone? Okay. Helen, Ms. Kouroukoris?
Sure. I don't have anything to report on the Communications Committee. We will be meeting again next month. I wanted to just take this opportunity to read something to Dr. Rashika. I have greatly enjoyed working with you this past year. You are a caring, kind man who helped lead our district through a transition from virtual hybrid learning to in-person learning. You are a good listener and someone who carefully considers concerns raised by stakeholders. Your dedication and your care for our district did not go unnoticed, especially during the pandemic. Despite all the challenges, you kept your focus on what was best for the kids and for the district. On a personal note, I'm so very grateful to have had the opportunity to work with you and learn from you. I hope you take some time off to rest, as I know when you start your next venture, you will hit the ground running. You will be missed, and I hope you stay in touch. Good luck and be well. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Ms. Kouroukoris. John, Carolyn, would you like to go next?
So Tony, I'd like to thank you for your leadership and your positive demeanor, which was probably one of the toughest years to be a school leader. You showed great compassion for our community, our students, and our staff. We appreciate your leadership and wish you all the best in your future endeavors, and we look forward to seeing you at future sports and events here at RIH, because I know you'll be back, and we're excited about that. But again, thank you so much for coming in and really helping us out for this period of time. We wish you all the best.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Tom, again, I wanted to thank you for being proactive in dealing with that bus situation this week. I know that kind of got dropped on you at the last second, but I thought it was really well done how you handled that. So thank you very much for being so proactive. Finally, one of the things I wanted to kind of comment is that I think when we go and we go forward next year, we really should, as a board, take a look at social media and how it should be used, or how it shouldn't even be used by board members. It's always a personal choice, but I think we need some guidance in trying to do a better job, because when you're a public figure, you have to be careful about and thoughtful about what you post. And you know, not because you put a disclaimer or you don't put a disclaimer, but you represent the school board, you know, and people know you're a school board member. So hopefully we can spend some time on that next year and just try to figure out ways that we can manage that a little bit better, so we can help with our image to the public and regaining their trust as we move forward. Thank you.
Anything on education, John?
The Education Committee will be meeting on November 18th.
All right, thank you. James Sedadakaka.
Nothing, we're still formulating the goals for the coming year. I think we do have a meeting on the calendar for next week, I believe. And I guess, you know, as, you know, my first 6 months of being on the board, and you know, being witness to Dr. Rashika and how he presented himself and how he commanded attention and just really reacted very calmly and methodically to each fire alarm that was pulled and everything that had to react to. It really, you set the bar very high for anyone I have to witness in your seat from here on. So thank you very much.
Thank you, James. Robert?
Thanks, Philman. Nothing on negotiations. Those are resolved until 2022. In the absence of Mr. Budo, though, I would like to report on the Finance Committee.
Can't hear you.
We had a meeting last week in Finance, and as Mr. Lamb had mentioned, we did meet with Premier Energy. They're going to be handling an auction for our electric rates, which they've been handling it for the last 8 years for us. They will be allow us to lock in low rates for the next 2 or 3 years, which will be good for the budgetary planning, and will allow us to avoid wild fluctuations in We also met with Phoenix Advisors, who's the district financial advisors, and they had briefed us on a program that allows for the state to pay 35% of bonds, principal and interest on bonds, for capital projects, which we're going to look into. They would have to be approved by referendum of the public, but it could be a way to finance long-term goals and projects and get state funds for that. I'd like to congratulate Mr. Mancino. That's it for the for finance. I'd like to congratulate Mr. Mancino on his appointment to athletic director. And I'd also like, although the election results have not been certified, I'd like to congratulate the successful election candidates. And I'd also like to commend everybody who ran, especially in this environment. It certainly was not an easy thing to do, and whether you won or lost, it was at least an effort to contribute to the community, which I think is important. I do hope that the new board can come together and with the district, and we can move forward as a community, which is in the best interest of the students, which should always be our first goal. And then as to Mr. Rashika, Tony, thank you very much for your work. You took over as interim superintendent, extremely difficult time last year. You were able to implement the hybrid program that brought most of the students back into the classroom. This summer, you fought a difficult battle against COVID and still managed to shepherd the district into the new school year with in-person learning. Through it all, you maintained a sense of humor and evenness of temper, which was badly needed in this district at this time. So I thank you for that, and I wish you the best in your future endeavors.
Thank you.
And one more thing, as to my comments a couple of meetings ago, they were said in, I do have a temper, and they were said in frustration and anger, and they probably were overboard. However, there was extreme behavior by members of the public, some members of the public. I personally, as well as other members of the public, were verbally and physically threatened on more than one occasion. If that is not extreme behavior, I don't know what is. There were other incidents as well, which I would characterize as extreme. So certainly do not want to characterize everybody who's against the curriculum in that regard, but there was extreme behavior, and I think those individuals should take credit for that. That's all I have.
Thank you, Robert. Mr. Kinney?
So as far as strategic plan is concerned, we had a meeting on 10/27. We are on track from a board interview process. We've got one more that we've got to complete there. We've got the survey technology and the crowdsourcing that we have. We've engaged Dr. Denicio on that, and we'll actually be rolling that out in the fourth quarter. And we're moving towards an alignment meeting in the third week of January, separate from the board meeting, so that we can just concentrate on strategic plan at that process. The next meeting will be set up for the week after Thanksgiving break. The next one, I think, Tony, I think you've heard all the accolades. You're a tremendous leader, you're a selfless leader, you're a force of positivity, and you're a pleasure to work around, so thank you for stepping up at a difficult time. And then, you have this innate ability, as some have said, to hear all sides, but make sure that we keep moving forward, which is very much appreciated. Second to last would be congratulations to Mike Mancino on his appointment. Make us proud. This is a big responsibility, and it's a big legacy to actually carry on. And lastly was around social media. I do actually want to, Mr. Carolyn's comments were spot on as far as social media. I'm really not that involved in social media at this point. One was brought up to my attention right before the meeting here, which I think I just want to go on record. It was a post from Mrs. LaForgia.
Point of order.
Yes?
Point of order.
What's the point of order?
Personal affront.
Mr. Kinney hasn't even made his statement, so we don't, he's allowed to make a comment, and for any board member, yeah, you have to be careful of what you say, but I think he's allowed to say it as long as he's not going too far, so.
Okay.
You let me know if I'm going too far, Tom.
Yeah.
I'm 100% on that.
Okay.
But, part of this, actually, it referenced Aryan and non-Aryan passports, and also some Nazi imagery, which I think is divisive, to just say the least. While I would never, ever deny Mrs. LaForgia any type of right to her free speech, it doesn't mean that I have to support it.
Point of order, it's taken out of context, and I don't appreciate it.
But
If that's the case, it should be on Twitter. You can take a look at it and make your own decision for that. It's already in the public domain. So I'm not saying anything that you don't already have access to as well. And I just want to make sure that, I want to make sure that I'm clear. I'm not representing the board at this point, but I want to make sure that you're clear that I actually don't support this type of tone. I don't support this type of context, and I don't support this type of insensitivity when it comes to that. So, in my personal opinion, it's just wrong, and, somebody should say something about it. So, thank you very much.
Okay. Mrs. King?
So the Committee of Facilities, Road Forward, and Safety Management will be meeting on Thursday. So I will have an update at the next meeting. I'd also like to say that the Indian Hills High School PTSO Board met at the end of October. They are still looking for parental, student, and teacher involvement. So please get out there and join the PTSO. They really do great things for the students and the teachers and all of the workers in the building. Ms. Robinson is also doing a bunch of programs where she has businesses, local businesses coming to the school during lunch and allowing students to fill out applications should they be seeking work. So if anyone knows of a business that is looking for young people to work, they should send them to Mrs. Robinson at the school. And again, we really need the involvement of the parents, the teachers, and the students, so join the PTSO. It also goes towards scholarships at the end of the year. What I wanted to say to Tony is, I was brand new, and I know that this was, your first time working in our district, and I just wanted to say that you provided a lot of guidance to me, and I was very thankful to have your insight, to go to you for advice. You were very helpful, and you are so knowledgeable, and I really appreciate all of the help and leadership that you gave us in a very difficult time. You will be sorely missed, but I'm sure I will see you around Oakland at the football games and basketball games and baseball games. So I look forward to it and enjoy your retirement.
Thank you.
In closing, I'd just like to say that there is nothing, absolutely nothing, that can be compared to the extermination of 6 million people simply because they are Jewish. The post shared over the weekend by our Board of Ed president was insensitive and showed ignorance on her part. I condemn this post in the strongest terms. This is not how we lead. Thank you.
All right, Mrs. Sullivan?
Thank you, Ms. LaForgia. I have some feedback on my microphone. I apologize for that. As you can see from the agenda, the Policy, Litigation, and Legislative Committee met. We recommended for board approval Policy 2467, which has to do with surrogate parents. So if a child doesn't have a locatable parent, the district has some obligation to find a parent to be appointed as a surrogate. The policy is up for first read, so you can look at it on the district website. Policy 3142, which concerns non-renewal of non-tenured teaching staff. The essence of that is by May 15th of every year, the superintendent has an obligation to notify that non-tenured teaching staff member that they will not have their employment renewed for the subsequent September. Policy 3221, the evaluation of teachers, is also up on the website for your review on a first read. The main change in this was that inclusive of the word digital records in terms of what's confidential as part of an employee's personnel file. So, for example, if a teacher comes up for renewal, there are certain portions of their personnel file that no one can access, not even board members. And so it just clarified that digital records are also going to be included within the confidential portions. And it reiterated the standards for the evaluation of teachers: ineffective, partially effective, effective, and highly effective. Policy 5116, the education of homeless children, recent changes that match a change in the New Jersey statute. And then there's a series of policies that have to do with what happens if we get grants by the federal government, and what are the requirements, for example, like internal controls, what are our mandatory disclosures that we have to make. For example, if we're aware that there's been a violation of law in connection with that grant, we have to report that. Conflicts of interest, and finally, what goods and services can be funded by those grants. So you can look on the RIH website for the first read on that. I do want to make the public aware that about 2 or 3 weeks ago, in doing a spot audit, it did come to my attention that just through clerical error, the administration has not posted the final versions of policies that we have passed as a board. I'm working with Dr. Rashika, and he assures me that it will be taken care of, presumably now by Dr. Dionisio. When he comes in, it was just an oversight, and that will all be corrected. So you will know if you're looking under the policy section of the website, if you are looking at the latest version, because when you scroll all the way down to the end, you'll see dates like 2003, 2006, that's when you'll know that's not the latest one that we approved. So there's about 17 of those, roughly, that need to go up on the website, so that when you have a cohesive place to look in the manual, you'll feel confident that everything is up to date there. There are still 13 policies that administration has told the committee that they need more time to review. So hopefully at our next meeting on November 17th, we'll be able to make some more headway on those. They include things like, I won't read them all: procurement, use of facilities, educational improvement plan, teachers, staff duties, evaluation of teachers, evaluation of administrators, evaluation of principals, non-renewal of non-tenured support staff, and school district travel are amongst some of them. Like I said, we have hopefully our next meeting on November 17th. I'd like to say goodbye to Dr. Rashika, thank him very much for his personal attention to student matters, and wish him luck in the future, and hope to see you around in Oakland. I want to reiterate my request for the Google Forms, for the parents' comments, for the curriculum, now that I'm hearing from Mr. Carolyn for the first time that it is going to be posted at the beginning of the second marking period. That's the first I'm hearing of that. We have no applicants for the Franklin Lakes position. Please, if there's anyone out there who wants to apply for Mr. Buto's seat, please go ahead and apply for that seat. Let's see what else. With respect to Ms. LaForgia's comment on Facebook and the other comments, this is a tricky area because as a constitutional law professor, I can tell you that the First Amendment rights to expression are very strong. There are some concomitant rights that have people that are in semi-public. We're not really, we're school board members and we're volunteers. So we do have a public image, I suppose, but there's a code of ethics. So if you make a post and it's inconsistent with the code of ethics or it's inconsistent with the policy, then there's procedures to address that. But I totally reject someone on the board actually inviting people to make comments. This is one of the things that gets us in trouble in the first place as a board, because we're not united. So when a board member goes out to the public and says, hey, go look at Twitter, I reject that. And I think that that's more appropriately handled by our board attorney internally. And I do get complaints about many things, not just social media posts, but other things that board members do. And I report it to Ms. LaForgia, and she, in her discretion, and I think most times, if not all times, she does inform board counsel of the matter. So that's all I'm going to say on that. I do also believe that we still owe Mr. Budo a proper goodbye. He did serve on the board for 9 years, and I'm looking forward to at least making some type of presentation at a meeting in the future, honoring his civic commitment to being on the board. So I also want to thank everyone for running in the election. It's a privilege to serve in a public capacity. It's an honor, and whoever wins or loses, you know, it's a lot of work, and I really appreciate it, and want to thank everyone who ran. That's all I have.
Philomena, can I make a quick motion to
Thank you.
extend the Franklin Lakes process by a week?
I'm just gonna do that.
Or are you going to do that? If you were gonna
No,
do it.
I was going to make my comments, and
Oh, I'm sorry.
and
Okay.
then we'll jump
Okay.
into
I'll
that.
make it after your comments then. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
sure. Thanks. A few comments. I'd like to say on social media posts, just to clarify what Mr. Sullivan has said, the process that I usually do is whenever the public contacts me, or when a board member contacts me regarding social media posts, they are forwarded to Mr. Fogarty, and that included mine. So just so the public is aware. But that post, that email came tonight, so Mr. Fogarty, it's in his mailbox already. So that's on social media posts. I do want to say thank you to Dr. Rashika, and yes, good luck on your future endeavors, but I have a feeling we'll be seeing you around town. Mr. Fortunato, I appreciate your attempt to apologize, but I wasn't part of that apology, and I wasn't even in that meeting. And I know you pretty well, and we have never discussed anything about me publicly, professionally, personally. So I don't know where you're getting your information from, but we've never had those conversations. So you still owe me an apology, but thank you. I think that's all. Thank you.
So can I make the motion now?
Yes.
Is that okay? So, motion to extend the process for the board seat replacement for Franklin Lakes. I'd like to make the motion that we extend the closing till the 24th of November.
Before we do that, Mr. Lamb, can you just confirm that there are no applications?
We have not received any applications yet. We did extend the deadline to apply to next Monday,
the 16th?
November 15th.
15th?
But we have not received any yet.
So the motion is to extend the acceptance of applications for Franklin Lakes board seat until December 24th?
No.
November
24th. It's
24th?
the day before the Thanksgiving break, and that way everybody has some time.
November 24th, okay.
I'll
Mr.
second
Lamb,
that.
can you confirm that motion?
Yes, motion confirmed to extend the closing for the applications for the Franklin Lakes Board of Education seat to November 24th.
Okay, Angela?
I need a second.
Yeah, I seconded it. Rob's got it.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Thank you. Mr. Carolyn?
Well, we have questions on this?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So, just a quick question. So, Mr. Lamb, by extending
can't hear
this, are we still gonna be within the window to, our state requirement?
Yes, both the November 22nd, well, this motion would extend the deadline till after the November 22nd board meeting, but the board would still have the opportunity to appoint the board member at the December meeting, and that would be before the 65 days.
Okay, and then the board is going to be
be open to getting together, because obviously we'd have to do it in between those meetings. So I just want to make sure the board understands that.
I can't hear you, louder.
So the board is going to have to, maybe, depending on the number of candidates, we'll have to either get together before or the day of that meeting early. So I just want to make sure everybody understands that, because
Right.
we're up against
Right.
the time.
Yes, yes. Some boards would interview the candidates prior to the, on a prior date of the meeting, and then at the meeting appoint, and some boards would interview candidates the same night as the meeting. So, and that's really, that's a board decision, whether you want to interview ahead of time or on the same night of the meeting.
So December 15th is our deadline, right, with the county?
And
Yeah, December, oh, I'm sorry.
when is the December meeting? It's December 6th and the 20th?
I think there's only one
Oh, the
December
13th?
8th.
The 13th.
Just the 13th.
Oh, there's only one meeting in December, I think, Mrs. Kim.
So if the deadline is the 24th for accepting applications, we need to hold interviews and make a decision before the meeting on the 13th.
Correct.
Yes.
So another option would be actually move it back, the deadline back to,
21?
yeah, and that way we could use the executive at, on the Monday before Thanksgiving to interview, and then we could nominate in December. Does that make sense, guys?
So that may, but, yeah, why don't we do that, and then if we have to.
What about Friday the 19th, no?
Whatever the Friday is
Yeah,
before
that
then.
Friday the 19th.
So I'm gonna make a motion to my, amendment to my motion, which is actually gonna change the date to, November 19th, the closing date to November 19th, and I need a second for that, guys.
Second?
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Angela?
Mr. Carolyn.
Yes.
Mr. Fortunato.
Yes.
Mr. Kinney.
Yes.
Ms. King.
Yes.
Ms. Koulikortis.
Yes.
Mr. Satterducato.
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan.
Yes.
Ms. LaForgia.
Yes. Okay. All right, do you guys want to take a break before next public meeting? I mean, discussion? No? No bathroom breaks? Okay. Let's rock on. Okay. Please limit your time to 3 minutes and be conscientious of your time. Let's be civil. Board members, please refrain from all comments during the public session and follow Robert's rule. Further, the board will not be answering questions directly. We will all be taking notes, and if you have any if we have answers, they will be offered to you at the end of the public session. Hopefully I won't forget. Or one of us will get back to you as soon as possible. Please state your name and town. What time is it? 9:33. Can I have a motion to open up to public discussion?
So moved?
Second.
Mr. Carolyn.
Yes.
Mr. Fortunato.
Yes.
Mr. Kinney.
Yes.
Ms. King.
Yes.
Ms. Koulikortis.
Yes.
Mr. Satterducato.
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan.
Yes.
Ms. LaForgia.
Yes. All right, we are at 9:33. Mr. Lamb?
Yes.
Okay. Open to public session.
Okay, my name is Aridonio. I live in Franklin Lakes. Ms. King is actually right. This is not how you live. And I think this is the main reason for disappointment from the board and from the school. The lack of taking responsibility about almost anything, from a half-assed apology by Mr. Fortunato for a very bad comment, to last couple of weeks ago, zero acknowledgement that this school district violated federal law of teaching in Constitution Day on a day, and yet send for other day a full-blown message to the entire school. And zero responsibility, zero, hey, you know, we were wrong, we'll make it better. And instead you're pointing fingers at each other and blaming each other why kids are not doing great, or we're a bad example to the kids. Just not taking responsibility. So how you lead, like Ms. King said, there's a new page on Facebook. I don't have Facebook at all, so not social media, but people bring things to my attention because people attack me personally Although I zero campaign here, like others, on these grounds, and I never mentioned I'm going to any public position, which I have and I won. But on a new group, it's called Flow Community for Progress and Logic in Education, just popped up around October, early October, and was pretty much dedicated to tarnish my name and some other people's name. A board member writes, without the disclaimer, "This clown," it refers to my running mate Scott Loya of Franklin Lakes, "thinks that being Jewish absolves him and Ari, me, from making anti-Semitic statements. I'm literally gobsmacked, talk about blatant stupidity." So that's how you lead, by calling other people who run in clowns or pointing out their stupidity? Or do you lead by running and appointing a VP, which is up to election a week after and probably lose the election? This is how you lead? Look at yourself. Take a strong, strong look at yourself and think why the public is upset with you. Think about it. Same goes with curriculum. Mr. Caroline also gave some kind of apology. He was weak, but it was at least something. While Miss King and Miss Kulikouris tried to sneak a motion that avoided the public for another week. You all three voted for it, and you never took responsibility. Not even for a single second. When will be the day that you step up as adult and tell the public, you know, we can do better than that, together? Instead, you're tarnishing me with YouTube videos and posts on Facebook. It's a joke, and people see it.
Sorry, Mr. Lamb, can we fix that?
That's all right, I'll just hold it. Cynthia Phillips Wyckoff. So that August 23rd meeting was posted to YouTube, per usual. That's the same meeting that my friend Ala referenced, the email between Mr. Carolyn and Mrs. LaForgia. Interestingly, when you watch that video at sections 2:20 and then again at 2:22 and then later on in the video is edited. So it's not straight through, and I kind of do this for a living, so it was very obvious to me. So my question is it appropriate to edit the video of an open public record? Because I actually know what was edited out because I was at that meeting. And it has everything to do with that email exchange with the two of you that Allah was talking about. Because at that meeting, at that time, Mrs. LaForgia was basically admonishing all of you because you knew that she was not employing delay tactics. You knew that she wanted a separate meeting for curriculum, and you made it appear as though she didn't want the meeting. And, you know, I have a copy of that email, and I read it, and it's really, 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 really obvious that you were lying, Mr. Carolyn. And Mr. Fortunato took the opportunity at that same time to also throw her under the bus and tell the audience how her egregious behavior is so bad that she should be removed as board president. So this board has a lot of work to do, and I would like you to tell the community, why did you lie? This email clearly spells out that you all knew that she wanted a separate meeting. And lastly, Mr. Fortunato, I did call you out, you know, and I really don't have anything against you, to be honest with you, but your comments were really disgusting, and feeling angry doesn't absolve you of that. And I was really inspired for about a second there when I thought you were going to apologize, and it was a half-baked apology, and I think you can definitely do better. And lastly, when your video was circulated on Facebook, several parents posted it, and they were obviously very upset with your comment. This was Mrs. Vivian Uden King's comment. The people he is referring to are the same people who are asking that books be removed, parentheses banned, from the school reading list. One of those books being Catcher in the Rye. What's next? Will they stand in Ramapo and Indian Hills courtyard burning those books? So you want to talk about insensitivity? You want to talk about, I mean, that's pretty awful. So I think you all should explain to the community why you have such dislike for people who disagree with you.
Thank you. Your time is up.
Thank you.
Tom, we're going to discuss that podium at our meeting.
Yeah, that's probably the only way you can do it.
So you can just hold the mic.
Or, yeah, just.
Cardenas, Franklin Lakes. So this is tonight was the first night I'm seeing this survey that was handed out at school on the Schoolology thing. And for months, we've been told that you're not teaching critical race theory, that you're teaching diversity and equity and inclusion. So I'm just peeking through here and I see the questions, are you Asian, Arab Muslim, skin tone, light, dark, black, white? To me, that sounds an awful lot like critical race theory. So you might say potato, I say potato. So the question I have is, when you, Mr. Rashika, look into why and how that was given, I want to know, with the results that were from this survey, what were they going to do with those specifically? So.
Amy Eiler, Oakland. I don't really have a speech set for this one. I think there's been a lot of issues with social media all around, and I'm hoping that you guys do, as Ms. LaForgia mentioned the last time, hit a reset button, because I think that we can do better, and I think that the animosity you see in the audience is somewhat reflective from what we're seeing here. And it's not a you, and not you. It's collectively. I think that's something that everyone would like to see be worked on. And, you know, I think that the selective outrage is also something that us as community members probably should be a little bit more introspective about. As far as the questions that I asked earlier, as far as the saying no to Women's Empowerment Club, I voted in the last school election, and I don't think that it's asking too much to find out why you would vote against it. If it's personal, then it is personal, but these clubs are for the children, for the students, and I think that's something that you should be able to answer or clarify. And then as far as the questions, I haven't seen any kind of surveys or anything that they're talking about, but I can tell you from what I just heard from the previous speaker reading the questions, they were the same questions all of my kids as students answered when they were applying for college applications. So I don't understand the outrage. Our students are all going through it, so this is nothing new for them. And I wish you all luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Margaret Bennett, Franklin Lakes. So the topic of social media, Steve Fogarty will tell you, don't post and don't like. That's his opinion. It's been his opinion for years. And this year has become a perfect example of why that is the best rule that a board member can follow. However, there is a big difference between when somebody posts an opinion and when somebody violates the code of ethics on social media. I think one of the things this board needs to do is to review the tremendous, although recently curated, amount of inaccurate, purposefully wrong information about our schools that have been posted by a board member, and write a press release correcting the record. Literally go through each of the items and write a press release correcting the record. Press release would come out from the majority of the board and is not required to go through a board president. Just as scheduling a curriculum meeting is not up to just the board president, especially for a meeting that was on the calendar since spring. The board president is one vote only. Just as an individual board member cannot request curriculum documents. Documents can only be requested by a consensus of the board. You are not 9 individuals, you are one body. And even if the board votes by a majority to request certain documents, you are not guaranteed to be given to you, unless the board attorney and the administration says it's okay. So while you're talking about social media, I would focus more on correcting the record, and then just get Steve's advice and the rest.
Thank you.
Kim Anch, Franklin Lakes. I just want to clarify one thing I said about that survey or the Harvard bias test, whatever you want to call it, on Schoology, and just clarify to, I think, Ms. Eilert, who commented before, I wasn't pointing out whether maybe your children, her children, or other people's children have answered the same type of questions for college. But my point was not whether or not I approve of the questions or not, or I like the questions or not, or what anyone thinks of the questions. My point was, is that not illegal? There's a New Jersey student survey law, and we've been through this since April, okay? I'm sick of talking about it, and I'm sure everyone is sick of hearing about it. And there are 8 topics that you cannot touch upon without getting prior written permission from the parents. 2 weeks before, and the parents have to be allowed to see the material, see the survey at a convenient time and location. So if that link, which it was available to every student in the district, regardless of if they went to the club to join or not, they all had access to it. And it touched upon multiple topics of the 8 topics. That is illegal. Why is it still there? And Mr. Rashika, I know you said you're going to look into it, but if you heard about it this weekend, how do we not have more information? And where is Mr. Fogarty? This is a question, is it legal? Okay, and if it's illegal, which I believe it is, the district can be fined, just like we could have been fined for the English teachers survey. I still don't know if we were fined because I can't have any information about that because it's confidential. Okay? And then when board members, current sitting board members, say things like they don't condone anything illegal and they vote to reinstate the teacher who did something illegal, that's not okay. And I'd like to know why.
Joel Anch, Franklin Lakes. I was curious why we have police presence at all these meetings. I'm really not sure. I know it's requested from the board. I know we're paying for it. I don't think anybody's looking to kill anybody around here. I just don't see where we have this every single week after week. And I've talked to some of these guys. I know them personally. I'm like, yeah, we're requested to be at these meetings. So I'm not really sure. Maybe one meeting possibly for some hot issues, but I just can't see it any further. The last few weeks, I was out campaigning for my much better half. And I have to say, I went around town and met a lot of people. A lot of people unloaded on me when I got to their doors. And they just started asking me all kinds of stuff, well, critical race and this and that. And there's a lot of concern about what's going on in this community. And you might sit up here and not think that that's going on, but you have no idea what is going on. And unless you've been out there pounding the road like I've been doing and hear it from these people that are concerned, they don't even know who I am. Who's your wife? What's she doing? What's she stand for? And there's a lot of things that people want answers for. And you know, I let them just dump on me, which was fine. It was a good experience, but I have to also say there's a lot of great people in Franklin Lakes. There's a lot of religious people, conservative people. They're very worried about what's going on with whatever you want to call this, CRT or not, or wherever it is. And they have a lot of concerns. People that have kids that are out of school, people that have kids that are having gone into school. And I was not really that shocked to hear a lot of the stuff I heard when I was talking to people. But there's a lot of great people in this town that are concerned. I don't want other people to think maybe that they have not met the people I've met, that's not out there, but it is. There's a lot of wonderful people in the town. There's a lot of support for the right things to be going on in this town, whatever anybody wants to call that. And it was really good to get around and meet a lot of these people and hear their concerns and talk to them and see how they felt about things. When we were at the meet and greet with Dr. D, I talked to a couple board members for a while. Some are easier to talk to than others. I talk to anybody though, so it doesn't matter to me. And when I talked to a couple of them, I just said, why can't I always be like this? Have a couple of donuts and a coffee and just relax. And then the board meetings are always so tense, and I get a completely different look from them immediately. And it really shouldn't have to be like that. I guess Shrek said it pretty good. Can't we just have a beer and talk about this?
Thank you. Anyone else? No? All right.
Seeing no one, motion.
I'll do it, John. Calm down. May I have a motion to close public discussion?
Motion to close public session, which I am entitled to ask for as a board member.
Yeah, but John, you always
Second.
cut in. My goodness. I know you want to go home. I mean, we just finished talking to the public.
Can we take a
How-
vote?
Can we take a vote, please?
Mr. Carolyn?
It's
Mr.
incredible.
Fortunato?
Yes.
Mr. Kinney?
Yes.
Ms. King?
Yes.
Ms. Coolicordis?
Yes.
Mr. Satterducato?
Yes?
Ms. Sullivan?
Yes.
Ms. LaForgia?
Yes. Can I have a motion to adjourn the Monday, November 8th, 2021 work session public meeting? Angela?
Do we have any questions that we want to answer from the public session? Sorry.
What did you say, John?
Are there any other questions that we want to answer from the public session, right?
Oh, I actually only have one question myself. Is Mr. Rashika, Dr. Rashika, is it, there's an allegation here that the videos from a public session have been edited. Can you or Mr. Lamb comment on that? Because I'm not aware.
I can answer that, is that only one person had access to the videos in our district. It was a technology employee, and he was never given instructions to make any edits. The videos appear as they were saved, and if there are any skips in the meeting, that's because of technology, not because of any edits by any individuals.
Okay. What? Go ahead. Do you want to?
I'd like to answer some questions by an audience member, only because I have seen some confusion out in the public about this. So the only people who know what board counsel's advice to us is us. It's not anybody in the community. So we are the ones that get the advice. If a public member tells you what our board counsel is telling you, then that is not true, because we are the only ones who know, and that's a private attorney-client privileged communication. Secondly, the people who speak for the board are the superintendent of schools and the board president. The board majority does not get together and make a statement and issue a press release. It's clearly in the policy that primarily the superintendent is the one that speaks, and the board president is also the one that speaks on behalf of the board. If the board majority wants to make a vote, encouraged by a member of the audience to go against board policy, then we would have to change the policy so that the superintendent and the board president would not continue to enjoy that privilege and right. And that's probably not going to happen, in my opinion. It's always been the way that the board president and the superintendent are the ones that speak on behalf of the board. So I just want to clarify that, because some people are asking me about, since I am an attorney, is this person an attorney? Is this person an attorney?
Excuse me, point of
Who's in the
order.
audience
Point
and
of order,
making
Ms. Sullivan.
comments
Point
about
of order.
questions and things like
You
that.
are not
So-
the board attorney, and I'd appreciate it if you would not
Let's-
speak as if you are the board attorney.
Was that your point of order?
Yeah, that's my point of order. And Tom, I don't believe that she, just because she is an attorney, can speak on behalf of the board. And I think that that's putting the board in a very sticky situation.
May I respond?
Tom, I mean, the statement is really, I think it was,
I think both Ms. Sullivan and Ms. King made their comments, and just to clarify, Ms. Sullivan is an attorney, but she is not the board attorney, so that I agree with Ms. King that is correct.
But I am the chair of the policy committee for the entire year.
So I think the point is that the board gets legal advice from Mr. Fogarty. I certainly do. I do share it with the board. If Mr. Fogarty has made public statements at the board meetings, and maybe that's what Mrs. Bennett is referring to, I'm not really sure, but that kind of is the accurate statement. All right, let's move on from that comment. All right, any more questions that I did not address? I don't think I have any. Oh, the police presence, I actually asked the same question. It was not on my request, so Mr. Lamb, Mr. Rashika, Dr. Rashika.
Well, I can tell you that the police presence started before I came back after being sick, before I was here, come back in, that was there. And I think it was because of some of the behavior, things that were happening at the board meetings, and the way, I don't want to say behavior, but the way people were treating each other. So it was there to mitigate any future problems. And yes, it is still going on. I'm hoping that in the very near future, we can go back to just being a normal board meeting. You look at most board meetings, including in Franklin Lakes, where maybe 2 or 3 people show up, and there's sometimes a police officer there as well. You know, everybody's being cautious. And I want to thank the police for being here for us. We always, whether it's Franklin Lake Police or Oakland Police, Wyckoff, wherever, who's ever helping us out, we appreciate it. But certainly, yeah, we want to get to a point where that's not necessary. And you know that the big topic, going back to August, I forget the exact date, was wearing masks again. So there was a big concern with that. So yeah, we can revisit that piece. I think we can revisit that and hopefully move ahead.
The other thing with Kim Anch, that survey did come to my attention, and that email was forwarded to Fogarty, Mr. Fogarty as well, so just so you know. That's it, I think? Everything? Okay. All right, back to saying goodnight. Can I get a motion to adjourn the Monday, November 8th, 2021 work session public meeting?
So moved.
Angela? Did I get a second?
Who's
Second.
second?
James?
Yes.
Jim second. Thank you. Mr. Carolyn?
Yes.
Mr. Fortunato?
Yes.
Mr. Kinney?
Yes.
Ms. King?
Yes.
Ms. Colacortis?
Yes.
Mr. Sedicado?
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan?
Yes.
Ms. LaForgia?
Yes.
Hey, James, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you for everything.